Well, hello, Madman. How are you?
Good morning. How are you keeping?
I'm keeping much better now that I'm speaking with you, my friend. And I'm so
Fantastic.
excited to be speaking with you, Mr. Acclaimed hip hop producer. Listen, I want to know, Madman, where were you when you were younger? I want to know, I just want to you to paint the picture for me. Where were you growing up when you realized that you loved music? Was it a process? Was it an aha moment?
I can tell you exactly when it hit. I don't want to date myself too much, but it's gonna come out anyways. In the early 80s, obviously I'm pretty young, maybe 10, 12 years old. You're looking at the breakdancing movement is in. The older kids are hype on the movies. I'm in the Toronto area. I'm in the east end of Toronto between a place called Scarborough, and then there's a Durham region, which is like a smaller version of New York to Long Island, let's call it that. So I'm in the burbs-ish, okay? Scarborough being closer to like Queens / Brooklyn. I say Brooklyn, well, they're both part of Long Island. But anyway, I'm keeping the references for you. I know you're New York based. So it's around me, but I think there was a time that my friend, his older brother was a DJ, and he gave me a cassette. And I went home and I played this cassette, and it was him scratching and stuff. And it was over like breakbeat. It was actually LL Cool J's Rock the Bells, but there's a different version than the popularized version, which has these weird bells in it and stuff. And it was the wildest thing I ever heard. And I think that's the aha moment. And Run DMC was really coming up, and Houdini. And it just, I think from that point, I never turned back. I think it became my religion at that point.
I love that, Madman. And I love the way that you say it's your religion, because for so many artists, it is a spiritual experience for them. Because I can only imagine for you, especially as a producer, you act as a vessel on many fronts, on behalf of the music, on behalf of the production, on behalf of the artist. I'm curious what you love most, and it doesn't have to just be one thing, but being a producer, you're at 30,000 feet, right? What do you like being, dare I excuse my analogy, I love Disney, but in some way, shape, or form, in my mind, Madman, you're kind of like the Geppetto, right? And you kind of are holding all the strings. What do you love most about being at 30,000 feet, holding those strings?
It's so fascinating because Geppetto the analogy kind of strikes me as he's kind of in total control. And at times I don't feel in total control, because sometimes you sit down and say, okay, it's creation mode, which is my favorite part of the process. I can do the mixing, I can do the mastering, I can do it, but I really like when you have a raw canvas in front of you and you say, okay, let's get something new going. And Geppetto just probably picks it up and goes, but there's a whole time where I'm like, I can't do this, man. I got nothing. I got a blank. And then you sit there in the anxiety, you might go for a coffee, you might sit there and you kind of get frustrated. And then an hour later, you have something fascinating that's going on. So
see, I want to challenge you, Madman, because I think that in addition to holding the strings of the production, I think that whether you know it or not, you're also holding the strings of the creative juices. It's just a matter of tinkering a little bit.
Tinkering is very important, but the wildest thing that I've learned about creativity is that you can't force it all the time. It comes when it comes.
Amen.
It's like trying to force a fruit on a tree. It won't be as nice until it decides that it's nice, and it just happens at the right moment, just organically. And then all of a sudden, the worst thing is when it happens when you're not ready for it. And you're so busy, and you're totally inspired, and you're in the mall, and you're kind of going.
You don't have a piece of paper. Your phone is dead. You have nowhere to write it down.
I think that's where the Mad Man thing came from, because they're like, look at this guy over here. But yeah,
well, I was about to say, how did the name come about? Because they should be calling me Madman, because I, like every other New Yorker, I'm constantly talking out my ideas on the streets, but so is everyone else, whether they're mentally ill or not. So I'm curious.
Is that where I got it from? I was wondering where I got it from. Maybe it's you guys.
Where do you think you got that name from? How did that name?
I know where I got the name from. You need to ask the talented artist Villa Dom, and probably Smiz had a play in growing it. Smiz, the money kid, had a momentum
and just
behind
for
it.
Our audience to know, we have Smiz the Money Kid and Villa Dom also as artists, as part of FENIX, and they are not only incredible artists but just incredible human beings, whom I have great affection for, and obviously they have great affection for you, and I can see why, Mr. Madman. Curious for you though, over the last 18 months, obviously it's been tough for all humans and artists. I'm curious how you were able to keep your creative juices flowing, even in those times when it wasn't flowing.
There were some days I couldn't. I'll be fair with that. Some days it just felt too heavy. But the biggest thing was I always had this reputation of just pulling up in New York, like not even announced, just showing up. Hey, what's up? Oh, man, like just expect it. Oh, what's up, man? Like it's not even. And I guess the going forward, when people watch the interview in hindsight, I think the U.S. government announced that the land border will be open tentatively the 8th of next month. But it's been over. I got back into Canada just before the borders shut, and it's been shut for over a year, and it's been a little bit of a drain. So it's been a lot of, phone calls and video conferencing and stuff like that, but it doesn't feel the same. You can't, for one thing, Canada doesn't have grits, and that just bothers me because all the little bodegas and stuff, and in the breakfast in the morning, you go get your grits and your eggs, and there's no grits and there's no the camaraderie face to face.
It's those little things. I know. I hear you. Look,
there's no chopped cheese here. Like that's not happening.
Literally and figuratively. Now listen, man. What I love what you're saying though. I will say, being in New York throughout the whole pandemic, as traumatic as it's been, there is this camaraderie that you just will never be able to take out of its bone marrow. And I feel that sensibility from you, and I know for you. Correct me if I'm wrong. That also, I'm sure, a thing that you're also looking forward to is those real life interactions. You seem
Absolutely.
like a hugger. You seem like you seem like someone who vibes off of in the room energy.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you're most looking forward to for those, for that time back that you get to be back in New York or be back with more of your collaborators in the room.
It's something that it doesn't happen as much as, for the musical aspect of it, people have worked around it. The newer generation, I think they tend to email one another beats, and it is very possible to make great recordings. That you send them a track, they send you back the vocals, but it never recreates the essence of being in the same room and having a dialogue and making changes on the fly and stuff like that. That's something you can't recreate. So that's an organic experience. And then just the little things that come out of being together, like you're just planning to go do something, but there's so many instances that happen during that day while you're doing regular things. There's comedy, there's interesting things to see, there's little things that come up unexpectedly. So those are the nuances that you never recreate over the phone or over a video conference.
I agree with you. And I think it's in those nuances, in those imperfect moments where actually the gold is.
Absolutely. That's life. That's the comedy. That's the real comedy. That's the real memories. And life is really memories. And if you're not putting memories in your structure, in your buildup, in your essence, it's just like you're not creating any more moments. You're not creating any more real, and milestones don't need to be something of huge magnitude. A milestone could just be something that was just really enjoyable for that moment that you reflect upon. On days when you're not totally up, you can draw it back and have a smile or have a laugh on yourself. And they call you Mad Man because you're on the subway and you're laughing and like, I don't know what's up with this guy.
Yeah, but actually, you're probably one of the sanest of them all, because what you're also talking about, Mad Man, is this deep sense of gratitude, in the deep sense of enjoying the journey and not maybe focusing on the destination. And I think something that young artists watching this interview should take note of, because in a world today where everyone is a little bit obsessed, well, not everyone, but most, especially young people, artists, looking for the likes, looking for the like buying fans so that they look like they're popular. But it's remembering those little moments that honestly are going to take you through maybe the toughest times.
Absolutely. And it's the most fulfilling moments, because anything else purchased or manufactured is empty at the end of the day.
That's right.
Right. And the thing is that people are looking for feedback from strangers so intensely. Like, you need to worry about those around you. Mind you, those around you could be the first ones to really do you the most harm. At the same time, when you pick and choose over your journey in life, who those are around you that really love you, and you return and reciprocate that love, there's nothing in the world that you can do to recreate that.
You need to have a podcast.
Thank you.
I need some Madman isms. I mean, You obviously are an artist and a human that has done the work. You've obviously done it on your craft, but you've also obviously done it on your personhood. And I'm curious, last question for you.
Mhm.
And by the way, I want to let our audience know for more on the incredible madman, you can read more about him right below this video. If you had to give advice to young madman right now, what would it be?
The minute you really don't give a about what people think, you don't just say it, but when you really genuinely don't care what people think about you or say about you, especially the negative ones, you don't let that energy take from your energy, you start winning. Because a lot of us as kids, we try to fit in somewhere. You're trying to see where you fit in. Never force fitting in. You got to fit in where you really fit in. Fit in with people that really love you and you really love. Don't force it, because you get yourself in legal trouble. You get yourself in a lot of other trouble. You got to be around people that love themselves as much as they could love you too. You can't just be around strangers. Just don't care what nobody says. Do you believe in what you believe in? Even if nobody else sees your vision, go for your vision. And I wish I had learned that earlier. Because you get
Amen.
older, you really don't care what nobody says. Like, you genuinely, it's not like you just say, I don't care what they say. No, I really don't care what they say.
Listen, man, I am so grateful that we're now connected, and I'm so grateful for your time today.
Likewise,
And
it's a
thank you so
pleasure.
much. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you.